Do you have a dirty little secret? Welcome to the club.
And you're all invited.
The first rule of the Dirty Little Secrets Club is tell everyone about the Dirty Little Secrets Club.
We're handing out memberships, free of charge.
Step up to the VIP line and let Dayna and Brimstone take you on a weekly ride of secrets and debauchery.
Now buckle up, Buttercup, because things are about to get heated on the Dirty Little Secrets Club.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Dirty Little Secrets Club. I'm Dayna Pereira.
And this is Brimstone.
Brim, I hear you're a busy, busy man this weekend, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I shouldn't even say this weekend because I think if I could just I don't know, say at any point in your life, I hear you're busy, I think your answer would be yes.
Yeah, but you make time, you make things work. It's this weekend. So I'm doing a little bit last minute. I wasn't sure if I was definitely going to go out, but I'm going to go out to I'm going out to Boston after we get off this show. I head out to Boston and I'm doing an appearance for PAX East, which is the huge video game convention.
Yeah.
So, I have the Rose and Locket game, which literally just launched the demo this past week on the 15th. And
cool.
which, by the way, available on Steam free for you guys to check out. And I'm the final boss in that, in that one. So it's Wrath. So if you guys check that out, you'll get to play against me and try to kill me, but I'm gonna kill you first. But anyway, and then another game that I'm doing some voices for, Crystalla, is another featured game that's gonna be over at PAX East. So I'm going to be signing mainly in the Crystalla booth, and then I'm going to pop over, see what's going on in the other spot, and, just kind of be there to support. And then I'm heading over to Salem so I can go over to the Salem Halloween Museum, get some pictures of the whole Brimstone exhibit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun.
So it's a lot. It's a lot. And
Yeah.
it could be worse. You know what I mean? I have no problem.
It could be COVID times. You could be sitting on your couch twiddling your thumbs,
Right.
not able to do anything. It's funny. I
Thumb
have some
twiddling.
appearances this weekend too.
What are you
Later on,
doing?
I have to appear at my son's tennis match, and then I have to appear at the vet with all of the puppies, and then I have to do an appearance at my son's baseball game. So nobody's
That's
signing
good.
autographs though. So
You could. I mean, I don't see why not.
could you imagine if I just showed up at my son's baseball game and just
With
put up a
8x10s?
table and started handing out pictures?
Throw some 8x10s out there. What's going on, everybody?
Start
It's
charging
me.
everybody.
Yeah, come on, man. Come check it out. Come holler at your girl, 20
Gotta
bucks
start
a pop.
somewhere. Gotta start
30
somewhere.
bucks a pop. 20 bucks
That's
a pop.
right.
Whatever you got to do, you got to do.
Mm-hmm. I'll make one, I'll sign one and I'll sell it for $10,000. And then I'll tell everyone that I'm Banksy.
Okay. Is that
You
like
get
one of
the
those
one signed autograph from Banksy.
one of those memes? What do you call it? One of those memes? What is it that I'm gonna use like a picture of something else and tell them it was somebody else.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
All right.
I love those memes, by the way.
So I'm gonna take a picture of Dayna and say it was Banksy.
I'm gonna tell my kids that was Banksy.
I don't know who Banks even is.
Nobody does. That's the point.
Really?
Yeah. He just pops up, throws some art up, and disappears. Nobody knows who it is.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's funny. That could be worse. I mean, people know who you are, but they don't know who you are. That's kind of scary too.
Yeah. You have that anonymity. How nice.
So, what do you call it? We are going to talk about a topic today, guys.
Where people don't have anonymity.
Right. Matter of fact, one of the people just broke their anonymity in a big, major way. And I got things to say about all that. Like I'm in shock and awe. So we did want to put out. It's very, very important. And Dayna brought this up. And I think that if you guys have any sensitivities towards certain topics that have anything to do with talking about children and bad things happening to them and so forth.
Yeah.
This is
Sexual
a trigger
assault.
warning. Sexual
Yeah.
assaults. This is a trigger warning right off the bat because there's a lot that we're going to be discussing in this, and it has to do with the brand new documentary Quiet on Set, talking
Oof.
about Nickelodeon and former stars, and people that were in charge that shouldn't have been. A lot of things. So I mean, do you want to take it for a little bit, because I
Yeah.
you know
If there are uh, whenever you think of child stars, Drew Barrymore, Jason Bateman, there's so many of them, and it looks like they're living the dream, right?
Mhm.
And although some of them might, if they had the right protections in order, there's so many child stars that came out the other side because and they're struggling. We see them
Mhm.
in the news. We see Lindsay Lohan, we see Britney Spears, we see Drake Bell, who we'll talk about in this episode at length. We see Amanda Bynes, who we also need to talk about at length. And these kids were kids that grew up in an era where there weren't a lot of protections in place for them.
Don't
And
forget, Britney Spears came from that time too.
yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely she did. And so it's really sad to see that these kids that were supposed to be living their dream, they were so excited whenever they got these roles, and it took their lives away from them in a
Mhm.
sense.
Mhm.
And it's really, really sad. So this documentary in particular is about Nickelodeon and the cast of all that, the Amanda Show, Drake and Josh. There's a ton of them that were on Nickelodeon. But something that got me, so there's one guy who is the producer slash creator of all of these shows, and his name is Dan Schneider.
Mhm.
And as it turns out, Dan Schneider is a real piece of shit.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know what's crazy? And I'm not, and again, you know me, I'm not defending this because I agree with you 100%. But it really depends on who you ask. You know what I'm saying? I actually, what you didn't know is I actually met him
I was
when we
gonna
were
say, tell me
signing.
you have a picture with Dan
I
Schneider.
do not. I do not have a picture with Dan Schneider. I did meet him. It was at Kamikaze in LA. They were doing an all that reunion.
Mhm.
What do you call it? I'm friends with Kel. So I believe Kel, I believe, introduced me to him or introduced me to whoever there. And again, at that time, it was before all this came out, even
Mhm.
though it had happened. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? We
Yeah.
didn't necessarily know about it because people were keeping tight-lipped, and then that Me Too movement came about, and other things happened, and now people are speaking a little more forwardly about what had happened to them in their past.
Mhm.
Um, there are a lot of people that still support this guy. As seen in his response video, what do you call it? So one of the guys who was on iCarly, I can't remember the name of the guy, but he wound up doing Boogie, I believe is his
Yeah.
name.
Yeah.
And he, what do you call it? He did an after documentary interview with Dan, and it seemed like he was like, oh, and like kind of cool with his responses. Again, we didn't even talk about everything yet, and I'm already going to
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that Dan Schneider did because
Yeah.
I mean, if you watch this documentary, and I highly recommend that you all go and check out Quiet on Set. It will blow your mind, especially if you're like our age
Hmm.
ish. Where you grew up with some of that. Maybe you're a little bit older than it, maybe you're a little bit younger, but everybody knows that all that was on TV. Everybody knows about
Hmm.
iCarly. Everybody knows about Amanda Bynes and all of that. What they might not know is, or no, they do know. If you watch the show,
Hmm.
there was a lot of adult humor
Oh, a
on those
lot of adult.
shows.
More so than the cartoons, of that time, and still moving forward, where there's always a little adult humor sprinkled in, and you won't, only the adults would realize it. You know what I mean? And not saying that that's right either, but at the end of the day, I get
Little
that. You know what
adult
I mean?
humor is okay, but
This
not
is
when you're
dirty.
sexualizing
Yes,
children.
agreed. There were moments where just to give a general theme of things, one, hyper focusing on the children's feet.
Oh my
Um
god. So many
there
toes and mouths,
there
so many
was
feet rubbing
pickle
up close.
pickle man, what do you call it, the
Pickle
pickle
boy.
boy, which we're gonna have a whole conversation about him. But
Uh-huh.
then there was a nose boy or something like that, and
That
on
looked like he had
his
dicks on him.
right, he had
And then
penises. It
he
looks like, yeah,
sneezed, and basically it was a cum shot to the
cum
woman's
shot.
face.
Right. It just like how? You know what I mean? How are you doing this?
How does this stuff make it to TV? Ariana Grande was another one on there
Mm-hmm.
where she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so thirsty, just dumping water on herself in a
Upside down in a bed. And
upside
then
down in a
taking
bed
taking a potato, give me the juice, give me the juice. It's like, how do
and
you do
shaking
that?
it
Like,
and
seriously?
squeezing it.
Oh, oh, like, oh, I can't. I
And
can't.
somebody, here's the thing, and these kids, whether they felt comfortable, whether they knew what it was about, or what it symbolized or not, all of these kids were afraid to lose their jobs.
I
They
know.
were trusting these adults that were on set with them to like if they were to say, I don't feel comfortable sticking my toes in my mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and they would find another kid that did feel comfortable.
Right. 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 Um Yeah. I another one of the things just before we get off that topic, on Zoe 101 with Jamie Lynn, where what do you call it? They had a little thing, it was like a thing of candy, and the girl couldn't get the candy open and she was trying and trying, and then all of a sudden it like spewed in her
Squirts.
face. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like, and it's like dripping like jizz off her face. I
And
mean,
that's not the
that's
only
that's
one.
disgusting, on a child. On a
On a
child.
yeah, nobody tuned into Pornhub for this. This was
Right.
on a child, on a little girl's face.
Right.
Then, I mean, what about Miranda Cosgrove of iCarly? She's like on her knees while a water fountain is like spewing into her mouth. There's
Yeah.
another one with Victoria Justice and somebody else with a shake weight shaking them.
Right. Shaking weights. Yeah.
It's so concerning. And the thing is, if we think back to that time,
Right.
anytime somebody said anything, if somebody was like, "Ooh, that doesn't feel right," you were accused of having no humor. "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a joke." Like,
Right.
"Shut your mouth. You're no fun." Like, "You don't know how to take a joke." That was kind of the mentality back then.
Mhm.
And I remember being in several positions where I felt uncomfortable, but was so afraid to be told that I can't take a joke, or I'm no fun, or we don't want you around, and I'm not the only woman or man out there that experienced this, that felt uncomfortable.
And let me say something that if you of all people were feeling uncomfortable in any matter, things must have been really bad. Because
Yeah.
you are a very, open person and you really, so for you to say that you were, feeling concerned about saying things and so forth in your past, that's alarming. That's
Yeah.
alarming. They're getting on to some of the stuff that Dan Schneider did. I mean, one, he allowed all this to happen. It came from him as the head lead writer in the writers' room. The women that were in the writers' room, then there were only two.
Uh-huh.
What do you call it? They were made to split a salary. Now, I've been told that other people have done it before. Is it common? No, and I don't believe that it is legal either.
It's not legal.
I don't believe it is,
Nope.
and what do you call it? He gave
Especially when the
these
men weren't forced to share a
right.
salary.
Agreed. Now, his excuse for that was that they were brand new writers, but I do believe that other people were new writers as well,
Yep.
and they gave them full salary. So, he obviously, thought he was going to get one over on the girls. The thing that really killed me on the women's one, the writers thing, was when he had the one woman bent over in the writers room, like having to scream as though she was being anally penetrated. Was that what it
I'm
was?
not sure if it was anally penetrated, but what he did was she was telling a story about high school, and
Right.
he jokingly, in quotes, said to her, "Oh, you know what you should do now? You should bend over the table and act like somebody's, getting you, like having sex with you." I don't know if it was anally, I don't know if it was vaginally. He wanted her to pretend like she was being fucked, I guess, over a
Right.
table and
Ugh.
tell that story again. And she was
In a
like, "Ah,
goddamn
ha, ha,
writer's
ha,
room.
ha." And then he
Yeah.
was like, "No, really do it. No, really do it." And she did because she felt, and you could see on the documentary that she felt so uncomfortable even talking about it.
And none of the men in the room even did anything, which
Nobody
is
did because you
that's
don't
even
question that
worse.
man.
Fuck that. I would slap the taste out of his goddamn mouth if I was in there. There's certain things that I'm like, all right, maybe I would let this pass, maybe I wouldn't. But like 9 out of 10 or 9.5 out of 10 things in this documentary, I was like, no fucking way. Like, no way.
It
Like there's stuff you
Yeah.
just don't say, you don't do. And again, like I'm not prude in any way or by any means, but there's certain things that you just don't do in the workplace. You know what I mean? Like even as close as you and I are, or on Grindhouse, as close as Kim and I are. In a million years, I wouldn't like we might joke around and talk, stuff, but I would never take something and inappropriately like squirt something in your face, or
Mhm.
tell you reenact this or like or
Mhm.
especially things that would hurt you or upset you. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I mean, given you both, neither of you are underage either. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm talking about the adults anyhow in the writer's room. Like I would never want either of you to ever feel uncomfortable like that.
Well, it's
Like
interesting
why
whenever
wouldn't he?
Yeah, it's interesting when somebody has a place of power. I just remembered that not too long ago, and it wasn't even a man, it was a woman who had said to me like, "Oh, you should I told this guy that you're dirty, like you should go and fuck with him and say a bunch of dirty stuff to him, like be nasty, be raunchy." And I was like, so this
So that to
guy walks
you?
did it to me. Yeah, did it to me. This was a year ago. So this guy walks in and she's like, "This is her. This is the girl that I was telling you about. She's the raunchy one. You can be fucking raunchy with her." And I was like, so uncomfortable because she expected me. Now, I joke around all the time and I can be raunchy, but I get to do that at my own will. I don't
Right.
get commanded by somebody to
No.
be raunchy with somebody or to tell raunchy jokes or to, and
No.
I was like, I had to like scale it back and disappear. Like I wanted to disappear into the walls whenever this happened.
How did I not know about this?
I didn't really talk about it, and it wasn't somebody that was employing me, so it was just a
Doesn't make a
person who
difference.
perceived themselves above me. But this man who was employing people would make women come to him from the wardrobe department and massage him.
Oh yeah, yeah, I was getting to that one. Yep. No.
And
What?
if you did
What
like,
the
there was
hell?
women that were like, "Oh my god, I'm so busy. I have to work on this show, and I have to work on this, and I have to take time out of my day to go give gross ass Dan Schneider
Mhm.
a massage?
Yeah, no,
Hire
it's
a
so
fucking
degrading.
masseuse if that's what you want. You
It's so
don't
freaking degrading.
make a
Yeah.
woman who is supposed to dress your cast give you a massage, not in the job description.
He was having some of the girls on the show give
Uh-huh.
him back massages. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I saw Amanda Bynes, shots of her giving him back rubs, maybe Ariana, maybe a couple other people, like that's some wild shit right there. That's just off. And I listen, and
You don't
and
have a little girl touchy like that.
I'm gonna say this and take it from where it's coming from. When you're on set, especially set that you're going to be on for either, days, months, year, annually, whatever it is, you become a little tight on the set. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? People
it's
get a
like a
little
family.
loose. It's a very
Yeah,
family, environment. So sometimes things come out or is said that, maybe it's a little inappropriate and sometimes you let them pass. But
totally.
there is never a time where you have a young lady who's one of your stars for your shows put their hands on you in any way, shape, or form. Now, again, that happening now, people would be on it in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
Then it wasn't like that, like, and that's why so many people got away with the things they did. They employed not one, not two, but three that they mentioned on the show, on the documentary, that, literally fondled and raped children from the show.
Yep.
So, I mean, do you want to jump onto that now, or are you still going on about Dan himself?
Well, I mean, the one thing that I would like to say about Dan quickly, and then we will move on, is these kids that he like said, and let's talk about the toxic work environment that he put these
Hmm.
people into. He was a man that had he was Jekyll and Hyde, right? He was nice sometimes, he was a monster sometimes.
Oh yeah.
But his relationship specifically with Amanda Bynes
Oh,
is so concerning to me because nothing came out about whether or not it was inappropriate. But
right.
I do sometimes feel like maybe the proof is in the pudding. This poor girl grew up and her life like shriveled. It
Yeah.
completely unraveled. Now, I cannot say whether or not he played a role in anything inappropriate with her, but I can say with some confidence that her level of child stardom probably and then having to transition into adulthood probably played a pretty significant role there.
Well, one, I do believe she's got schizophrenia. I believe that she is mentally got things going on. And I believe that a good portion of her issues came from I think she was having family issues. She was trying to
From her
emancipate herself
parents.
from
Yeah.
her parents. And I also believe that she is under the same thing Brittany had, a
No longer.
conservatorship.
She was under a
So she's out of that
conservatorship
also.
for a while. She isn't anymore, but she's still not doing great, and it's really, really sad to see.
she she was always an adorable little girl. She was so bright and fun and funny, very talented. I loved Amanda Bynes as a an entertainer.
Mhm.
Watching with the kids. You know what I mean? For
Yeah.
so many years, I used to, oh, it's the Amanda Show, yay! You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
always, always really cool, always
So
fun. And then
comedic. She was so good.
when she went on and then she did oh my god, I can't believe the I just lost the name of it. Easy A, right? Easy A. She
No.
was she was in Easy A with what's her face, the redhead, who just did what do you call it, super jumping, what is it called, furious jumping. I can't believe I just
Furious
blanked out.
jumping?
Yes, furious jumping. That's what you didn't watch that movie yet. Oh my god, it's crazy. What do you call it, I can't believe I just blanked on her
Isn't
name.
Aubrey Plaza
You
Easy
you
A?
No, 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 no. Or I think she might have been in that too. But what's her name? Emma Stone.
Am I thinking of a
So
different
Emma
I might
Stone
be
is
thinking of a
Easy A.
different movie.
Yeah, that's the one where she has like the Scarlet Letter. She does that
Uh-huh.
whole thing. What do you call it? Right? I'm
I
pretty
did
sure
I
that's the
did
one.
see that movie. I do not remember Amanda Bynes in it.
She was okay. So during the whole thing, she was always doing. She was saying that she was doing things with people for
Oh, but she really
gift cards or
wasn't.
money, but she really wasn't. And then Amanda was in it. She was the holier than thou Christian girl
Yeah,
in it.
yeah, yeah.
And what do you call it? And she played like a psycho in that. But she was amazing. She was great in
She's a
that.
great actress.
And then I've seen I'm gonna be honest, and again, take it where it's coming from. I wasn't body shaming. I'm not shaming at all. I'm not putting down. I saw some pictures of her, and I guess I hadn't seen any of this stuff with the hoopla or photo. I was like, "Who is that?" And I was told that's Amanda Bynes. I'm like, "That's not Amanda Bynes." Like Amanda
Mhm.
Bynes is a pretty young lady. Like, and she's like 30 something now. You know what I mean? Like I said, there's no way that's Amanda Bynes, and it's like, no, that's Amanda Bynes. And then I looked it up and I go, oh my God, it is Amanda. Holy
Mhm.
crap. You know?
Yeah.
Like the world has done some nasty things to this poor kid.
The
You
the
know,
change is significant, and it is really, really, really tough to see.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, she's not like the only kid that came out of Nickelodeon that had a hard time. And definitely one of those reasons is production assistant Jason Handy,
Oh.
who unfortunately was fucking handy with some children.
And wasn't it the Handy didn't they wasn't Jack Handy one of the things in one of the shows?
I don't remember, was it?
I think so. Wasn't it
I don't remember.
like what do you call it? Messages from John something Handy or something like I could be wrong. But yeah,
Maybe.
like anyways, it was not good. This Handy dude was
One of
like
3,
a
one of 3 that they arrested for, uh, you know, being a child molester
he
at
sent nude
Nickelodeon.
photos to a 13-year-old girl.
I think she was 11 at the
Was she
time.
11?
Yeah, and
Okay.
he
An
sent he
11-year-old girl. That doesn't make it any better.
it makes it
Like,
yeah, I mean, it's all
oh,
bad. 11, 13 doesn't matter, it's fucking terrible. Um,
uh,
he was at her house giving her kisses and telling her not to tell her mom that they were kissing because she got upset whenever he tried to stick his tongue in
in her
her
mouth.
mouth.
Awful. How do you do that? I don't know.
Well,
That's
what's
disgusting,
worse
man.
is he sends nude pictures of himself masturbating to
Right.
this 11-year-old girl via email. And this
Right.
was back when people, I guess, didn't realize that you would get busted for doing something like that. Like,
Yeah.
so he does that. They go to his house, and the mom, this breaks my heart. The mom didn't want to be the person that said anything. So
Right.
she didn't. She didn't
Which
call
is
the cops.
mm,
She didn't tell anybody. The FBI or whoever it was investigating had to call her and say, "Your daughter is not the only one. It happened to other kids. We're investigating it. Now we need your story."
can you imagine if somebody tried coming near my kid? Do you know what I would do to them if I even had a slightest inkling that something was going on? I would break people in two. I don't understand, even at that time, why anybody would stay quiet. You know what I mean? I get it. I get it that you don't want to lose, and I blame certain parents on some of this too. And I know they probably kick themselves in the ass every day about it. But you know what? You have to say something, or nothing's going to happen. I don't care if you're scared. You need to say something. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And again, I'm not trying to victim shame. You know this. I'm saying in general, like, how do you not? Your child is obviously in danger. Why would you
Well,
not
her
say
her
something about it?
solution was to just keep her kid away from that guy. And what's unfortunate is
And what about
I
everybody else's
know
kids?
exactly. That's my point. What's unfortunate is she didn't think past her own kid,
Right.
and that opened the door for him to victimize other children.
Yeah, that is just disgusting. And I mean, it goes up. He got arrested. You know what I mean? He got locked up.
They
I don't
found
know
over
how long he got.
10,000 images of child pornography in his home. Over
Ugh.
10,000 images. And this man was working on a Nickelodeon set with children on a daily basis.
Do you blame Nickelodeon for this, or do you blame
I think
the people
Nickelodeon
that are on
overlooked a
set?
lot of things. I think that
Right.
Nickelodeon and the people, because they had to do their due diligence. The third guy that they busted, they didn't really go into a lot of his story,
Right.
but the third guy that they had busted had already had a record for acts against children,
Right. Which
and
is a big
Nickelodeon
big
totally
problem.
overlooked it.
And they didn't have. Well, at the time, I don't think that they had things in play. They didn't have the systems to kind of look things up like they do now.
There is a lot of things that missed. They
Yeah.
got through the cracks. How, I don't know. I also think that Nickelodeon overlooked a lot of things coming when it came to Dan Schneider because he was a hit maker for them.
Right.
But yeah, this guy Jason Handy, production assistant, he's arrested.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not too long later, another person, Brian Peck,
This is the worst.
he is a monster,
Beyond
is
monster.
also arrested for the
Mm.
same kind of shit.
Now again, we mentioned to you guys earlier in the show about trigger warnings. If you're gonna, if you've listened up to now, none of the things that we said were, even anywhere near in the vicinity of as bad as what we're going to talk about
It
right
gets
now.
worse.
So this is the worst part of the entire documentary, in my personal opinion. So if you have any issues with this type of conversation, I suggest you turn off the show for now. Fast
Yeah.
forward it, whatever you got to do, because we understand. But the fact of the matter is, moving forward, I never in a million years thought that what happened to Drake Bell would have happened to Drake Bell. He, after however many years, has finally come out and spoke his truth in the
Mhm.
in the fact that he was raped, sodomized, abused in every which way, shape, or form, and it breaks my heart. I cannot understand how anybody could do that to a child. Nonetheless, how he then had to go out and put on his big smile and pretend like nothing was going on. And I feel for his father, who watched his son like a flippin' hawk, and he knew something's up with this piece of
He
garbage.
fucking
He
knew. He had
fucking
a
knew it.
sixth sense.
And that stupid fucking mother, I'm sorry, she should go fucking straight to hell, right to hell. Do not pass go, do not collect 200. This woman is a piece of shit. She didn't want to be bothered driving to the auditions or whatever. So the exact person that the father was protecting his son from, she openly gave him full access and round the clock access to her freaking underage son, who was then absolutely treated like a piece of shit. You can go into more and elaborate. I am beside myself. I don't give a fuck. I'm sorry. Any mother who would not listen to reason and to put their kid in that position, I don't care if you didn't know, if the father felt that strongly about it, and this is, I'm in a divorced relationship where I
Mhm.
had two young kids, and my ex didn't like to listen to me when I said, this is alarming. This is alarming. Do not do this. Do not, and she didn't listen. And I always had my kids, everything, with my children is it was important to me that they were safe. Let's just put it that way. And they were
Totally.
not always safe until I got full custody. And the fact of the matter is so when I see a dimwit who thinks that she knows better, you know what I mean? And it could be the father on other in other situations, not always the
I
mother.
don't wanna put full blame on the mom. Now, do I think that she was,
I put full
neglectful
blame.
in
I put
well,
half the blame on
you
her.
can do whatever you want, but I don't, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
So, she was in a messy divorce with
Okay.
that guy. She already thinks that his judgment is skewed, that he's just saying shit, that he's pissed off because Brian Peck, the man that we're talking about, has been getting into Drake Bell's head saying that his dad shouldn't be his manager anymore. He's driving a wedge between them. Now, the mom is hearing this man, Brian Peck, talk about how his dad is doing a bad job. He got in her head too.
Mm-hmm.
She is in a messy divorce with this person. She already thinks that he's a piece of shit. She doesn't like her ex husband. They're fighting all the time. They're not getting along. She doesn't trust anything that her ex husband says or does because
Mm-hmm.
they're in this messy divorce. So
Yeah.
when Brian Peck, the man who is looking out, supposedly, for her son, is feeding both of them this information, I think they were duped. I think they were tricked. I don't necessarily think that all of the blame goes on to her. I think that she's probably kicking herself in the ass and that she probably feels really, really, really bad for allowing all of this to happen. And should she have been present? Yes, but she did trust this person, even though the dad said, "Don't trust him." She was like, "Fuck you, I'll trust who I want until he gives me like." And I'm not
Well,
saying that's right. I'm not
no, it's
saying that
not.
that is right, but I am saying that if you don't trust the person that is feeding you information, if you don't trust the person that is telling you not to trust somebody else,
Mhm.
that was a judgment call on her. Now think of any time in your life that the person was telling you, "You should watch out for that guy," and you didn't trust that person, you'd be like, "Fuck you, I'll do whatever I want." You wouldn't be listening to them.
I always give the benefit of the doubt, and I will always listen to both sides. Doesn't mean I'm going to necessarily go forward with it, but I will also keep my eyes open. You know what I mean? And what do you call it? Again, while I appreciate that, you could visibly tell I, as watching him in the public eye back then, could
Mm,
visibly tell things were wrong. I didn't know what it was. He just was
mm.
not necessarily as where you have Josh, who's like this happy go lucky thing all the time. Drake was very much not. And all the, what do you call it? You could see he was going through something. His public displays of and actions showed that something was wrong. Now we, because we didn't know about this, thought, well, he's child actor things. No, he had everything handed to him, and now he's on drugs and blah blah blah. That's the way a lot of people's thought pattern goes. We didn't know that he was sexually abused, like not just sexually abused, like sexually destroyed. It took his girlfriend's mother to say, "Hey, what's going on?" Because that guy was sitting and calling profusely and calling and calling and calling, and then called the girlfriend's house just
So
to touch
let's
base with him.
let's give some context here
Yeah.
because not everybody has watched this and
I'm
not everybody
sorry.
knows what's going on.
Mhm.
So Drake Bell,
Mhm.
um, after this horrible, awful piece of shit, Brian Peck,
Garbage.
gets into his head. Drake Bell separates from his father, and his
Mhm.
father ends up giving custody to the mom. That Drake doesn't want to be around his dad anymore. He's a 15-year-old boy. Him and his dad aren't getting along. Brian Peck got in his head, said his dad isn't good for him, blah, 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 blah. But his dad was the one that was there all the time. So
Mhm.
Drake is now with his mom. His mom is busy. They live an hour away. She has to work. She can't take him to his auditions, blah, blah, blah. Brian Peck puts his fucking cape on and says, "Don't worry, I'll do it." And she says, "Okay." So Drake Bell is now spending a lot of time with Brian Peck, who
Way
at
too
this
much.
point has not done anything to him. Were there red flags? Sure. Did he have a pen pal relationship with John Wayne Gacy?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yes.
And he was proud of it.
Showing off his letters that he got from a fucking serial killer. Like,
Oh.
what?
Thank you for filling in the blanks.
What?
Who does that? I mean, I guess people do. I mean, that's people have this fascination with serial killers, but I mean, like,
If somebody has a
this guy's
fascination with
working
a
for fucking
serial killer,
Nickelodeon.
and he's writing back and forth with a serial killer, I do not want him anywhere me. I don't want him anywhere near my children. I
Yep.
don't want him anywhere near my pets. Like,
Hmm.
let's just put them all on a deserted island. If you think John Wayne Gacy is fucking cool, then you have some therapy to attend, my friend.
Ay, 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 ay.
So,
Oh boy,
moving on. Um, so Drake is spending a lot of time with this man who thinks
too
John Wayne
much.
Gacy is great. Too much time. He's
Yeah.
spending the night at his house. Mind you, he spent the night at his house many times before.
Right.
One night he wakes up and Brian Peck is performing sexual acts on him. He is sexually abusing him in his sleep.
Oh my god. Oh.
And Drake doesn't know what to do. He's a kid. And he says in the documentary, what was I supposed to do? Go outside and call my mom and say, "Okay, come and get me. You're an hour away. I'm just going to sit here on the curb and wait for you." he was a
Yeah.
kid, and
Yeah.
he also got the apology. "Oh my gosh, I don't know what got into me. I'll never do that again. I'm so sorry."
Okay. Well, you're never going to do it again because your ass is going to jail. Stay the hell away from me.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry. Like there was so many issues with this. So many issues. Yeah.
So
And
then
wait,
he has
go
to
ahead.
spend a lot of time with him, right? He keeps getting sent back. You have to go do your interviews. You have to go do your auditions. He was a dialogue coach. Oh, let's work together on your dialogue. I'm an acting coach. I'm a dialogue coach. Let me help you with that. So this man is trying to spend all of his time with a 15-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And Drake gets a girlfriend, and he wants to spend all of his time with his girlfriend. He doesn't want to go anywhere near Brian Peck anymore. He just wants to hang out at his girlfriend's house all the time because that's where he felt safe.
Yeah.
So Brian's trying to take him to Disneyland. Drake doesn't want to go. He doesn't answer his phone. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I'm just going to ignore it. I'm going to ignore it. So Brian is calling him nonstop. This is a 40-something-year-old man that is calling a 15-year-old boy over and over and over and over. Now, this is not his daddy. This
Nope.
is not somebody that is like, you better fucking answer your phone. You're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
He calls him over and over and over and over and over again. And when he does not pick up, he calls his girlfriend's house over and over and over and over and over
Who
again.
does that?
A
Like who does
fucking
that?
psychopath.
Like I I I cannot fathom how continue because I'm just I yeah.
Yeah, no,
I spoke my mind. Yeah,
it is
go ahead.
very alarming. And luckily for Drake, his girlfriend's mother saw how uncomfortable he was, saw right through his facade. He was like, "Oh, yeah, no, everything's fine. Everything's fine." And she was like, "The hell it is. I'm taking you to a therapist tomorrow. I'm calling your mother." And it wasn't that day. I don't know how long later Drake finally loses it and tells his mom everything that happened.
Yeah.
How he has been sexually abused by this monster
Hmm.
for of years at this point.
Right.
And they call the cops, and that is how it is found out that Brian Peck has been sexually abusing Drake Bell. Now he's a minor though, so all of the records are sealed,
Right.
and so nobody knows that it's Drake Bell that has
Right.
been a victim of
Right.
this man.
Exactly.
They know that he got
Exactly.
arrested. They know that Brian Peck got arrested. They did not know that it was Drake Bell. Everybody's calling everybody in the cast. "Oh my god, did you hear? Did you hear that Brian Peck got arrested? Oh my god, I wonder who it was. I wonder who it was."
Right.
Could you imagine the shame that Drake was sitting with, and he couldn't tell anybody? And that's why it amazes me that the whole world judged this boy turned man.
Hmm.
He filed for bankruptcy. He was arrested for DUIs. Just so many things that the world judged without knowing what had happened to him. The shame, the guilt, the trauma that he had to live through.
What about
And he
going
couldn't tell anyone.
what about the courtroom when he went into the courtroom and this guy's entire side was full of huge names
Yeah,
and many who wrote letters for him in defense of this guy asking for leniency. Now, this part concerns the crap out of me. Now again, they we don't know what they were all told. You know what I
right.
mean?
It was
So,
definitely it wasn't the time of the internet yet. I
right.
mean, there was internet, but not everybody was on Facebook. There wasn't a whole bunch of information being spread like wildfire.
So they might have just been told, "Hey, he was accused of something that this couldn't be true." Blah blah blah, yada yada yada. And
Yeah,
would
I
you write a
know
letter?
him. I know, but I
Right,
know him. He didn't do
right.
that to me, so it must not be true.
My big issue is there are a couple of people that were on that list of that they actually showed on the documentary
Yeah.
that are friends of mine. You know,
Yeah.
Now, I have not confronted them, nor do I think I will confront them about it. But that's very concerning and alarming. You know what I mean?
It
That's
is,
right.
but again, I
One of
think
them who I
that
just texted about a month ago. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
that's concerning. That's
I
concerning.
I do agree. It is concerning that people automatically jump to the defense of somebody that was charged, convicted, even. This was
Yeah.
letters people wrote for the sentencing, not even for the conviction.
Right.
They were asking for leniency. He was already convicted of
Yeah.
lewd acts on a minor.
I'm just dumbfounded. I'm dumbfounded. This poor kid, man, this poor kid. And then he went on to have nothing but issues and issues and issues because what do you do? You know, what do you do? And now
There,
back to Dan Snyder. He supposedly says to him, he goes, anything that I can do for you, please. I'm here for you. Let me
yeah,
know.
yeah.
You know, well, the first thing you could have done is make sure that this freaking predator was not on the set. That's square one. Two, like for some, like I kind of feel that him saying, because Drake did say that he did, he did come to him like that. So
Yeah,
that
that he
was
felt
verified.
supported by Dan Schneider.
But in Dan's whole reaction to this entire documentary, he gave he kind of went on the Drake Bell bandwagon on that and was like, well, but even Drake said that I was there for him. You know what I mean? Like the
Listen, you
only
could do one good
positive,
act and 50 million bad
right?
acts, and he's
The one
really riding the
positive.
coattails of that one good act that he
You agree
did.
with me on that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, his
Yeah.
his apology seemed lackluster at best.
Yeah.
Like yeah, he was. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't mean to
No,
interrupt.
no, it just amazed me that during the whole people writing letters to support Brian Peck, there were several letters where there was victim blaming. There were several letters where they were like, it is hard for us to believe that Brian Peck would do something unless provoked and tempted. Like
Right.
Drake Bell, a child, could possibly provoke and tempt. The only thing that he did was exist. There was no
Right.
temptation. If there was a temptation, it was just him existing and being a teenage boy.
Right.
And this man got 16 months in
That's it.
prison.
That's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
He raped a child repeatedly
Countless times.
and got 16 months in prison. I am
Mm.
sickened that that was the reality for Drake Bell. And then Drake Bell had to live with that everybody showed up in support of his abuser, said that Drake was
Yeah.
the one that tempted him. And then the judge went so easy on him. No wonder Drake Bell has had to endure the life that he was dealt. Like he had to deal with it whichever way he could. And did he deal with it the best way? Absolutely not. But holy fuck, this poor man, he's still dealing with it. And
Yeah.
he's a grown ass man with a child.
Meanwhile, that the piece of trash, what do you call it, wound up getting a job right out of prison and went and worked for Disney on another kid's
How
show.
insane.
How does
What
that happen?
the
How does that
actual
happen?
fuck?
I don't understand how that happened. Now, Nickelodeon eventually got rid of Dan because of all this, and well, not all this, but I guess continuous, complaints and so forth. But like
Yeah, during the Me
how
Too
many
movement, that's what
investigations?
happened.
How
The
many
Me Too movement.
investigations on the one person can you have? How many investigations on one person? Is it, like
And he's
until
had
you finally
several.
get it right? It
Yep.
was like one after the next, after the next, after the
On his
next.
first show. His first
Right.
show. He
It's
had
insane.
an investigation opened on him. Now, for a grown ass man who is in charge of creatively making, producing a show, writing a show,
Hmm.
and we didn't even talk about Pickle Boy. He had
Oh
a
God.
man with a thing of pickles and he's putting them through slots on a wall
Glory
that look like
holes.
a glory hole.
Yep.
sticking a pickle. They're on a children's show.
Meanwhile, that's what do you call it? That is the guy who raped, you know,
Yeah,
Drake.
Brian Peck is the one
That's
that
Brian
was
Peck
on the show. He was
doing
Pickle
pickleball.
Boy.
Yeah. Then he was pushing Drake at some point to push Dan to allow him to be the father on the Drake and Josh show. He was like,
Yep.
"Come on, speak to Dan for me. Speak to Dan for me." And he's like, "No effing way," But like, yeah, like pickles through glory holes, and then you got like these guys. What's his face? Who was the comedian that was eating the
Ray
pickle?
Romano
Yeah, Ray Romano sitting in like, and they
with
sexualized
two
it.
hands,
Yeah,
sexualizing that on a children's show.
and how does Ray Romano not realize that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't.
I think that at the time it was like adult humor was okay. It's so bizarre, the things that we thought were okay. I mean, in the 70s, you didn't even have to buckle your kids into a car seat, right? Like the
Right.
things that you think are okay and then you realize are not fucking okay. They are
Not
damaging
okay.
people. It
Very
is
not
like
okay.
you don't do this to kids. There was absolutely no protection at all. It is seriously the dark underbelly of child stardom. It was,
Yeah.
you have to trust these people to do the right thing. And Dan Schneider, in my opinion, never matured past 13.
No. No, I don't think so. And I, even if he didn't have malintent, you know what I mean? It doesn't make a difference. That type of humor was not. It was not
Who was
appropriate.
it for? They were kids watching the
Yeah.
show. His target audience was 6 to 14.
Yeah.
That was his target audience. His target audience was not a, 21-year-old male. It
Right.
was 6 to 14. You do not need Jamie Lynn Spears getting a cum shot to the
In
fucking
her face.
face.
No, not at all. Not at all. And look what happened to her after all that stuff. I mean, look at what happened to her. Look what happened to Britney Spears after everything she went through as a child star, and
Yeah.
I mean, like, you wonder. Look at what's his face, Corey Feldman. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Like, and I can't stand Corey. But at the end of the
He
day,
was
I
also
kind
a
of
victim of sexual abuse as a child.
I understand. You know what I mean? Where he came from. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Think of how many took their own lives because of it. This is it's not cool, and we need to make sure that this never ever happens again. This is awful. You know what I
It
mean? It's
it
awful.
is a disgusting, dirty little secret of the
Hollywood.
entertainment industry,
Yeah.
and that is it's really fucking sad. It's really
Yeah.
sad. I highly recommend, again, I know that we've said it before, but if you haven't watched this documentary and you're interested in getting more of the details from it, definitely go. What did we watch it on, Brim? We watched it on Max, right?
Max, HBO Max.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so go and watch Quiet on Set. That's where we got every piece of our information today. I gotta make sure we're quoting our sources before we get in trouble.
Yeah, again, now and mind you, Dan Schneider has not been convicted of anything.
No,
Um, he
he
did
has been
lose his
fired though.
position. He did get fired. But then he's also making a resurgence. Maybe this will stop that. But
There is chatter about him really wanting to reappear in that world. And I struggle with it as a person that, thinks that people can grow and do better. But I don't know. After all of that abuse, I also don't think that he necessarily should be working with children again. I think it's too risky. I think
yeah,
it's too risky.
it's crazy. And also, apparently, for anybody who ever, kept up on the Drake and Josh drama, where Josh basically was like, I don't want anything to do with you, and
Yeah, yeah,
he
yeah.
didn't invite him to his wedding, and like there was a bunch of stuff about
Yeah.
between the two of them. I don't know if you knew about any of that. But apparently, Josh reached out to Drake after seeing this
Uh-huh.
documentary, and I don't know too much about it because I didn't read the entire article.
Yeah.
However, it was said that they did have a private discussion about it, and they had he had a
I'm sure that
discussion.
there
It's,
is
it's
a
all
lot
I
that are
know.
just learning about this. I don't know if you remember on the documentary, there was a guy, I think he was another producer on the show, maybe. His name was Virgil Fabian, and he was the one that was kind of like always there for the kids. He was the one that was always going to bat for them, trying to make them feel comfortable. He did eventually get fired by Dan
Yeah,
Schneider. Um, he's on there, and whenever they're talking about Brian Peck, they say to him like, oh, that he, was arrested for molesting a child. And he said, well, not a child on our show. And they were like, yeah,
he didn't even know.
he had no
No
idea.
idea.
And he
No
was
idea.
there every day with Drake Bell.
Yeah.
And he had no idea 20 years later that
Can you imagine?
that had happened to one of the kids on his set.
Unbelievable. And that was the director, I believe,
The
right?
director, yeah.
The director. Wow. Yeah, I can't fathom. Listen, everybody, we all take these things differently. I am just, when I can't speak and I can't verbalize, it's obviously very disturbing for me.
It is. It's
Um,
disturbing.
being a former child actor, I feel like I dodged a bullet because, my mother wanted to continue to pursue and have me do other things. And then,
Yeah.
my mother and my father just, couldn't agree on time and so forth. So I wound up pulling me out, when I had been getting started. That could have been a good thing because, I mean, the
Could have
trajectory
been the
was
best
for,
thing that ever happened.
yeah,
Imagine you were one of those hundreds of children in the
yeah,
auditioning room for all
yeah.
that, and you didn't get picked, and it was the worst day of your life at the moment. You were so sad. You were crying. You didn't get the role. You wanted it so bad. You wanted it
Hmm.
so bad.
Yeah.
And years later, you find out that that was the biggest blessing in your life. Thank
Yeah.
God you didn't get that role.
Yeah, it's true. It's crazy. It's crazy. Anyway, guys, definitely check out this documentary. It is very, very eye-opening.
Mm,
There are very few people that are out there that don't at least know either one of those shows
yep.
or one of the people from one of those shows.
Mm,
Very, very widespread, very, very big names that came out of these shows. And the spider web of names that are attached and people is just
yeah.
mind blowing and mind boggling. And I hated the fact that I saw friends of mine on this documentary.
Well,
They
that's
weren't
gonna happen when you know
weren't
people,
necessarily
right?
portrayed. Yeah, some of them were not portrayed in any way, and some of them were. So
Yeah. Well, and we
it's
just scratched the
confusing.
surface of this. There's
Yeah,
so
just a
many
bit.
more details in the documentary. I mean, things that happen with Jeanette McCurdy and just so many more things that we haven't even really gone into.
Mm.
And we won't because you should go watch it on the documentary.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that he said, and I'm going to leave this. Every one of those jokes was written for a kid audience because kids thought they were funny and only funny. Now we have some adults looking back at them 20 years later through their lens, and they're looking at them and they're saying, "I don't think that's inappropriate for. I don't think that's appropriate for a kid show, and I have no problem with that. Let's cut those jokes out of the show." I,
That
I,
dude, what a piss poor attempt at covering your ass.
yeah, and yeah. He said that he refuted the idea that he had complete control over the content that made it to the show, saying there were many levels of scrutiny, pointing out executives from the company, crew members, parents, and other adults on set could have raised objections. What do you call it?
No,
Well,
they couldn't have because you
no,
were the man with the power.
yeah, I can't, I
Let a
can't.
parent raise an objection and then see how often their kid's on camera after that.
Well, some of them got cut off.
Yep.
What do you call it? There
Yep.
were a couple of people. Again, you guys got to watch the documentary.
Yeah.
What do you call it? Anyway, I think we're gonna wrap it at that. Dana, you did an amazing job. laying it out because you know me, I just spew.
You made me do my
So
homework and I did it.
yeah, I'm sorry that I just spewed. I just was like, I was so amped to get it out
I
and just be
know, I
so
know.
angry about it and wanted to talk about it. And I'm glad that you're the level head on this. So, anyway, guys, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for tuning in to the all new Dirty Little Secrets Club. We've been getting great reviews on Insta. Everybody's loving the new direction. Thank you so
Yes.
much. We appreciate that. Please continue to rate, review, subscribe. Also, we've been charting in Italy and other places around
The
the globe. So
United States,
oh,
Canada. It's been awesome. The
thank you
uptick
so
over the
much.
last couple of weeks has been so cool.
We appreciate it greatly. So, guys, again, thank you so much for tuning in. What do you call it, Dana? You want to let everybody know the one rule of the Dirty Little Secrets Club?
Yes, guys, the first rule of the Dirty Little Secrets Club is to tell everybody about the Dirty Little Secrets Club.
Thank you again. As always, we appreciate you. We love you. We'll see you again, God willing, next week.
Follow me. Promised land. You think we want something from you? You got another thing coming.